Right, obviously not many because I've been doing them non-stop these days. Looking forward to my CBT on Thursday. Really excited. Oh yeah, something that I didn't quite mention in the Sam Harris, what was his name, Thomas Metzinger, that podcast. Another thing that I mentioned, this is coming back to when I was saying that I'm the creator of the universe and obviously everything I think eventually becomes reality. They also tackled the loss of selflessness idea that I've talked about recently and pretty well defined the consciousness spheres diagram I conjured, just not in any visual or rather mental image representation. So yeah, they kind of, I want it to be clear to no people who will ever hear this that I don't actually think I'm the creator of the universe. It's hard to get your head around the fact that coincidences like that have to happen eventually. It's not really even one that should be very convincing. It's just there are 8 billion people on the planet, and a lot of them have been around for a long time, and there have been billions of people. How many billions of people have ever existed? How many quadrillions of thoughts would have happened? And it's very unlikely that you're going to have a truly novel one. You're always going to be drawing inspiration. Anyway, I guess one possible advantage to people ending up with people who are similarly attractive to them is that these people are more likely to have experienced the world in a similar way to you, or well to them, or well to you, I guess, and thus more inclined to understand who you are and why you are the way you are. You are. And understanding one another is one of the main cornerstones of any relationship. This only addresses why it's okay for the one. When I say this, so there was this big think talk where that guy who had some kind of, I think he had some kind of facial disfigurement of some sort, looked like he might have been burned or something, talking about why if you have 20 people, then the most attractive one ends up with the most attractive one. That's what I'm talking about. And then you get like if you just did 1 to 20 on the left and 1 to 20 down the right, then the ones match up with ones and 2s with 2s, etc. Anyway, this is only addressed to where it's okay for the ones to end up with the ones and the 2s with the 2s and 3s with the 3s and so on. But not how unfair it is that everyone fancies the hottest one first and the second hottest second. So if everyone got to choose which one they wanted to be with, you'd get 20 would pick 1, 19 would pick number 1, 18 would pick number 1, blah, blah, blah. It would suggest that we should all fancy our corresponding hotness. And you know what, maybe that is the case. Maybe, I don't think the 20s would actually pick the number 1. Well, they probably would. But I think if they understood the game a bit more, they'd probably pick something more like a 19 or an 18. But then why would the 19 pick a 20? So it's always going to be a 20, ending up with 20. Anywho, this is a list of things which I want to bring up in CBT, but I'm not sure. Judging by the homework thing I got given to do before my first session, I'm not too sure it's going to be what I'm looking for. But anyway, the fact that I haven't done it yet would suggest that I'm not going to do it, but this doesn't alter the fact that I really do think not existing would be preferable to existence given my current subjective experience. It's just a matter of everything is effort, including getting to the point where you're not existing, which is a bit annoying. It's really a matter of existence would be fine if you didn't have to make any effort ever, and you couldn't enjoy anything. Obviously, I've said this before. Enjoying things is the only thing that really matters. That should be your purpose. Blah blah blah. But if you can't, then existence wouldn't be that bad because it should at least be on par with non-existence. Really, I think it's hard to. Well, as long as boredom didn't come into it, which it probably would. I think it's possible to avoid. But if you were just, I don't know, somehow not bored, you had literally no emotion. But unfortunately, part of existence is it's not quite true what Jean-Paul Sartre said. I've never read any of his works or anything, but I think he said something like, you don't really have any obligations, and humans feel as if they have to do stuff when they don't, and that you could just run away to the forest, so no matter how bad it gets or whatever, something like that. But even then, there will always come a point where you have to feed yourself, and that requires effort. So even if you don't think, you don't have to earn money to buy food. Well, even if you're living in the forest, then you have to forage for food. Blah blah blah. Can I stop saying blah blah blah, please? But And then even if you were to choose, oh, I don't want to forage, well, then that becomes an effortful process because your body will start to eat itself, kind of. And that's painful. Not literally eat yourself, but, degrade the muscles and blah, blah, blah. Alright, I'm never going to say blah, blah, blah ever again after that one time. I believe wholeheartedly that enjoying life is the purpose of life, but don't believe you can just choose to enjoy it, and your brain will all of a sudden get the neurotransmitters in order to feel this way. I don't believe that if you just choose to feel it, then your brain will do that. There are things that I would like to enjoy doing, but despite my best efforts, do not enjoy doing. Is it possible to make myself enjoy them? That's actually a question I'm going to ask. But I just don't think I'm deluding myself by acknowledging that not all people are born equal. Well, it's not just born equal, but I mean born equal in terms of their potential, I guess. Well, I don't really like that word because everyone's like, oh, you have unlimited potential. Shut up. And as admirable as it might be to achieve your maximum potential, I'm never going to be as smart as Tesla, Turing or Einstein. And no, I don't believe simply switching places with any of them, or just becoming as smart as they were, would be akin to achieving eternal happiness. However, it would give me a better capacity to enact any changes I would like to see in the world. And more importantly, the interest in the right fields and pursuits in order to actually involve myself in those fields, where they would really be able to make a difference. I think a while back I attempted to list a few things that people could centre their lives around to derive a sense of purpose, one of which was honing or perfecting a skill. And whilst this obviously lends itself to things like creating art or sporting activities and the like, I think this is pretty much the basis for all life-affirming activity, honing a skill in some obvious or abstract way. It can easily be extrapolated to more conceptual things like being a conscientious person, or improving the lives of others, or understanding the nature of reality, or meditating, and so on. And I think, given my other belief that the only thing that matters is subjective experience. Oh my god, I can't fucking speak. Is subjective experience. I think it would be reasonable to assume that the best skill to perfect would be to enjoy life. Obviously, this sounds like the beginnings of a hedonistic rampage, but I would stress the importance to address the multitude of possible improvements to your own conscious experience that benefit others. Benefit others, such as trying to live in alignment with your own morals, dedicating a significant portion of your wealth to charity, the pleasure of improving the conscious experience of other beings. That's something that I think most people don't associate with hedonism. I think people view hedonism as a kind of just only acting in your own self-interest, which everyone ultimately is, but doing it in a kind of immediate sense, so and at the expense of others. And really, that shouldn't be the case, because doing it at the expense of others will ultimately cost you some kind of pleasure, because you should be aware of it, and it's hard not to be, I guess. I think I called it nihilistic hedonism, but it's not quite nihilistic hedonism. It's more kind of nihilistic smart hedonism. No, nihilistic. It's like it's derived from nihilism, so it's through the understanding of nihilism, you should act hedonistically while addressing all things that will impact. It's long-term. Nihilistic long-term nihilism. Nihilistic long-term hedonism. That's what I call it. Working on the theory that genius is heavily influenced by dopamine levels. What I forgot to mention whilst talking about that crystal meth video was its similarity to Adderall. Talking about crystal meth, was a similarity to Adderall, which many people use and abuse in order to achieve feats of genius on a regular basis. Furthermore, the state described by a former meth addict of feeling like you're the shit and highly important, while simultaneously having immense focus and interest in learning, sounds eerily similar to, well, he didn't say he had an interest in learning, but he said he could focus on something like calculus for ages. Sounds eerily similar to Tesla's personality and autobiographical descriptions of his childhood. His claim that he would stay up into the early morning, reading every book in the study, or we might have said library, by candlelight, against his parents' wishes, sounds like the kind of behaviour that fit with the description of the effects of methamphetamines and subsequently high dopamine. Perhaps, just perhaps, it's possible to reverse engineer this. I imagine this is the very premise for cognitive behavioural therapy, but I wonder if forcing yourself to read incessantly would eventually allow you to do it insatiably. I am highly sceptical. Basically, I think it's really just, come on, if you've got high dopamine, then you set up to enjoy you can pretty much enjoy, well, actually, I don't know. I mean, it's all clearly just luck, isn't it? But, I mean, if you could just somehow get your dopamine levels up, I know that people say eat certain foods, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I said it. Or do exercise, but I tried all those things. I did nothing. I mean, I trained for a half marathon for God knows how long, while eating everything. I was taking a few supplements. I never tried the L-tyrosine thing, but I feel like if that was my problem, then surely I'd be getting it from my diet. So I don't know. Yeah, don't know. The only thing I can think about is if it's some kind of phenotypic. Well, it doesn't have to be phenotypic, but some kind of alteration in my expression of enzymes that are involved in the dopamine cycle. So don't really know. Or maybe it is psychosomatic, if that's the right word to use in this case. Maybe somehow my kind of, philosophical existentialist considerations have affected my neurochemistry in a way. But I think I would have thought that would have been reversed by my realisation that subjective experiences is all that matters. Therefore, feeling good is the goal, really. But it didn't seem to have happened, doesn't it? I don't fucking know. I don't know. Oh, there was a Reddit post I was reading quite a lot into by some guy who came to be a suicidologist, but mainly worked with young adults and children. And there was the top asked question was, has anyone ever convinced you that suicide was the right decision for them? And then there were a lot of people who were speaking in similar terms to what I do, and asking questions like I did, and then got very angry when he didn't actually answer the question. He got very angry back, even though he probably should have tried to be more calm. But, well, he kind of was. But they were right, the people who were arguing with him, that he wasn't answering the question. He wasn't answering the question, really. He kept just saying whatever they were saying were something distortions or something like that. But it's not really very helpful for you to raise, well, I would say certainly logical philosophical questions, and then just to have them dismissed as saying, oh, it's not a real thought, I guess, is what he's trying to say. I don't know. Or it's not. He's basically saying it's not a healthy thought, and therefore you shouldn't have it, which I don't respect. If the only way to get around realizations like this is to just not think about it, then I don't think that's a real long-term solution, is it? Because you're just constantly open to whenever you happen to decide to have that thought, and you don't even get to decide, really, as we happen to know, thanks to no free will, blah blah blah. I said blah 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 again. Okay, clearly losing my mind now. I was going to write a little message on there saying, look guys, I've solved it. I have solved it. It's just subjective experience. The only thing that matters. Your purpose, the only purpose there should ever be, is enjoying life. And but then I'd have to put all the kind of disclaimers about this. Doesn't mean you have to think. I mean, it means you have to think long term though, because taking drugs, well, presumably isn't sustainable for most people. Yeah. I don't know whether I've solved it for anyone or myself, and I don't think I have. But see how CBT goes. I was thinking about how it's going to actually pan out, and I'm just struggling to see what I'm gonna. I guess the real problem is, if I could choose. I guess what I've got to do is choose what I want to enjoy, because at the moment I don't enjoy anything, so I might as well choose the things that I want to enjoy, at least. Reading would probably be one, because I've never really enjoyed that. I managed to force myself to do it for a while, but I didn't really enjoy it. But I guess the things that I used to enjoy when I was younger were things like, well, I didn't really enjoy that much, but the things I did, So that's where my enjoyment found itself, were both sports, because that's what I was always doing, and kind of video games. I did enjoy things like Pokemon and stuff like that, and collecting Pokemon cards. But maybe if I get my enjoyment back, it just works on a scale of the things that were last to go, so they're probably the last things to disappear from enjoyment. But I don't know, I can't really bother to describe it. So they're the lowest hanging fruit, I guess, so maybe they'd come back and join that, and I'll never be able to enjoy things like reading and coding. I'm not really sure I want to enjoy. I just don't know what I want to do at all. Yeah, it's a very different tone to the one I'm usually engaging about these topics, but I guess I'm less against the idea of enjoying things. I'm open to it, but yeah, I just don't see the point, and I don't want to say that because that's people who get to chuck that in with a group of other things. When you say you don't get the point, I'm not going to solve it here, am I? Alright, bye now.